One of my aunts got new countertops. A few weeks ago, she texted me and asked me if I wanted her Corian, and I said, "Of course I want your Corian, Dorian." She didn't point out I would also be getting all of her sinks and faucets, so this is quite the treasure trove. I want the Corian for workbenches, but I don't really need all these sinks. It turns out to be really difficult to get an undermount sink off of a slab of Corian. I've done one already, and I learned a lot, so I think by the time I get to the fourth one, I'll have it figured out, and I can tell you how I did it. I had an idea that one of these oscillating multi-tools would be useful for this. So I wrote a letter to the Fine Home Building podcast to help me think it over. Then I checked the Home Depot website and decided to go buy one. I quickly realized I wasn't going to be able to get the sink off this way. I convinced myself if I only lifted one end at a time, I wouldn't hurt my back again, and I lifted the whole countertop onto my sawhorses. It's a lot easier to access the joint between the sink and the counter from this side, but neither the knife nor the power tool can get in between the porcelain and the Corian. It's just not a cutting problem, it's a prying problem. I got this beekeeper's hive tool after a tip from Matt on the FHB podcast. I like it a lot. I pounded that in, then used a 5-in-1 and a putty knife to cut the caulk. It's like prying apart something nailed. It's very odd. You don't have to worry it will fall out. You'll have to pull it off the last few inches. After the first one, I was more confident in my muscles and lifted out another one. This one was smaller. I measured it and sent pictures and dimensions to a friend who just bought a house. By the time I had the faucet off, he said he could use this one as is. Excellent. I can move this one by myself, so I set it aside intact. Then I got the last bathroom counter out of the trailer. And I inched it very slowly into the shade. I repeated the prying, cutting process with no real improvements. It might help to put an edge on the side of the putty knife, but I didn't bother. It just takes brute force with a bit of finesse. In an effort to not feel totally foolish for buying this oscillating Dremel tool, I tried the caulk scraper blade. It works, but I'm not sure it works better than a sharp razor blade. The good news is that there's not a giant advantage to having the counter out if you want to take the sink off. If you broke a sink and need to replace it, you could just go at it from above like this. Just go below and loosen the butterfly nuts and move the clamps out of the way first. These clamps are merely there to hold the sink while the silicone sets up. Once it's cured, they're not doing a thing. Finding the best way to do something is fun. The best way could be the safest way, the way that causes you the least bodily harm, or it could be the way that makes the smallest mess, or the least noise, or controls for strong odors. Maybe the best way is the fastest, or the most satisfying. You get to decide on your own project. I wonder which criteria this guy is optimizing. It's like watching a sea lion try to eat rice off a plate with chopsticks.